But let us think about this a little bit. What is the Protocols? The Protocols is a book that in terms of what is in the Protocols, it appears to be a book that is written by a supremacist group, a supremacy group, a group of people that believe themselves to be superior to everybody else. And in terms of the language used in the book, it leaves you with no doubt that the people that are writing it are Jews. And they are setting out a blueprint for controlling the whole world. Now let's think about it. Let's say Al-Qaeda came out with a book of how it is going to rule the whole world. Does it mean that all the Muslims agree with it or subscribe to it? No. That's their book. And in every field, in every religion, in every group, there are going to be splinter groups or small groups that have their own ideology. In America, you have the neocons, and they have these people who have put together the area of the new American century. These are groups, and they have their own protocols and their own theories of how they want to go forward. It doesn't mean the whole world agrees with them. So they may well have been this fringe group, and it doesn't mean that all the groups, all the Jews subscribe to their thinking. Now, the Protocols may have been a fabrication. It may have been a true book that is a blueprint for world domination. Let's take the assumption that it is a fabrication, that it is not a true book. When we study what is happening in the world today, we find that it is almost a carbon copy representation of what is in this book. So the conclusion we have to come to, if we reject the idea that this book was designed and written by the people that were carrying out this agenda, the conclusion we come to is that the people that are carrying out the events of the world adopted this book as their blueprint. It is a very valuable source of information to us because it gives us insight into the people who are ruling the world at the moment, what they intend to do and how they intend to do it. And by becoming familiar with this book, we can arm ourselves against them, because the people that follow this book are out and out Satanists. They serve no other but Satan himself. They are the agents of Satan. So we have one source of knowledge, which is the knowledge that teaches us about God, and the other one that teaches us about Satan. And what you will find is that the people that follow the Protocols do not come from any particular religion. You will find Jews there, you will find Christians there, you will find Muslims there, you will find Hindus there, you will find all kinds of people. You will find atheists, agnostics, and you will find people that are opposing this kind of worldview coming from amongst atheists and agnostics and Muslims and Christians and Jews and traditional Africans. It is not a religious thing, it is not a race thing, it is an ideology thing. It is whether you worship God or whether you worship Satan. That is the dividing factor. There is a very important book called Secret to a World Without Taxes, and this book is an explanation of the Protocols of Zion. And if you can get hold of a copy, you should try and do so. It's a very valuable insight into that book. The Protocols is a blueprint for world domination. There are certain creed principles that are explained in the Protocols, and these are total world slavery, end of national borders, and the end of all religion. And these are very important because it is telling us at the outset that their objective is to enslave all of mankind. So the question that will have to arise is, are they succeeding? And if they are, it is pointing to the fact that this Protocols is being instituted. But you may say, ha, obviously it's not being instituted because slavery was abolished. We're going to come to that in another segment. The importance of the end of national borders is very important, because when you take away national borders, you create a single world, a world without borders, which means you've got a single world government, which is the objective of the Protocols. And if you've got a single world government, it means if you are unhappy with the government that is there, there is no place that you can go to on this earth, because the entire earth is ruled by the same government. This is the reason why the drafters of the American Constitution did not draft a country that was a single country. It drafted a union of 52 different states, independent states. The reason being, if anybody was unhappy with any particular state, he could migrate to another state. He didn't have to live under laws that he was unhappy with. Unfortunately, the Satanists have corrupted the American Constitution and converted it into a single country, effectively abolishing the multi-state protection that they had. There are numerous chapters, and each chapter goes through different aspects, such as many aspects, including the aspect on religion, the abolition of religion. And so we are being told, in terms of the protocols, the world is going to be a slave world in which religion is abolished, and that there's going to be an end of national borders. And we have to be mindful that when we see these things taking place in the world around us, we've got to resist it. Because this is the way in which the demons that are implementing the protocols are going to implement it. So we already know what we need to fight against in order to protect ourselves. This is our challenge, to determine if the evidence exists that these protocols are being implemented, and by knowing how they are going to do it, to motivate ourselves and to rise to the challenge and to oppose it. This is what I wished to share with you in terms of this segment. To discuss who we really are, what we are all about, to eliminate this false knowledge that comes in. We can see these false people coming to constantly mislead us. You know, this theory of evolution has been debunked to such an extent that no true scientific person will ever mention it. And yet today, these same people that promote scientific thinking are introducing it into our schools under the excuse of giving us a wider knowledge. What's the use of giving us a dead, decayed, rotting, useless theory which is of no purpose to us? We have to hold on to the theory that God exists, because it's the only theory that explains everything in the world. And there is nothing that can challenge this theory. Everything that is challenged is answered in terms of this theory. It explains the universe, it explains our life, it explains our purpose for being here. Satan wants to create doubt in our mind so that we can fall in his trap, and this is what we need to resist. Thank you for sharing this with me. This was a long segment, probably the longest of all. We shall now take a break, and when we come back, we shall go into the next question, which I believe is the question of slavery. Thank you. God be with you.
إسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون والزمن بإسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون والزمن يحب الكون ألحاني فألحاني له سكن يحب الكون ألحاني فألحاني له سكن